Do you want an unfair advantage to dominate your fantasy football league? Look no further and download SquadQL, the only mobile app you need to crush your friends and rivals. SquadQL recommends the best starting lineup for each week based on your starters, bench players, and free agent pool. SquadQL provides waiver and trade recommendations too. Go to squadql.com to download SquadQL for free. Brought to you by the creators of RotoQL. That's squadql.com.
Hey, it's Courtland Sutton, wide receiver for the Denver Broncos, and you're listening to the Fantasy Footballers.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from Draft.com Studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Oh, Nick Foles! Why is the NFL showing me so much Nick Foles now?
Oh, you're not hyped?
Nick Foles at the end of the season, Nick Foles at the beginning of the season. Never thought my life would be filled by so much Nick Foles.
Well, yeah, you got a Foles.
I'm pretty excited. I admit I'm pretty excited for the season. How about you guys?
Oh, Mike. I honestly believe that the two worst days of the year might be today and tomorrow. It's possible that the 2 days leading up before the kickoff of the NFL season, I just feel like we're there, but I still have to wait, and I don't want to.
Jason's the guy sitting on the couch, staring out the window, just waiting for it to arrive, longingly.
With tears of anger rolling down my face.
Angry tears.
Oh, they're angry tears.
I didn't know you could have angry tears.
I can.
You ask my children. They know about angry tears.
That's very fair. This is the Fantasy Footballers Podcast for Tuesday, September 4th. Welcome in, Andy, Mike, and Jason. Back again. Great show today. Undrafted Gems on the podcast. Great quick question. We are here to prepare you. We are here to get you ready. We're here to set your commissioners right. We're here to fix your leagues.
If you heard yesterday's show.
Oh, I got more today.
My goodness. Commissioners.
They're running wild. They're running wild, Mike. The commissioners out there are running wild.
You are the sheriff.
Yeah.
You are the law. You're supposed to be an upstanding citizen and handle your league with care, grace, and humility.
Power does things, Mike.
It's beyond me.
Follow the Fantasy Footballers Podcast on Twitter at the FF Ballers. The website's thefantasyfootballers.com. We've got some really cool tools we're going to introduce to you this year.
Ooh.
Week 1 rankings will be up very soon. And if you're still drafting, which I know for a fact a lot of you are, which is fine. It's great. You've waited till the last moment. You don't get any of that Jerick McKinnon madness, regret, sadness.
I think they're doing it right. Because, like, right now,
yes.
I'm waiting. I'm angry, tears of anger. If my draft was tomorrow, the day before NFL kickoff, I'm still happy. I'm looking forward to something.
Of course. And yesterday, for most of the day, there were 300, 400 people in the UDK using it during their drafts. So I get it. Good luck. Dominate that draft. Walk into the season with a nice foundation.
Absolutely.
And you can keep it right here and count on us for your weekly rankings. Last year we were the only site, what do you want to call us? What are we?
A media
we are
conglomeration.
An entity.
We were the only entity.
We're a being.
We're the only
thing.
No, we had 2 experts in the top 14 in terms of week-to-week accuracy. So you can stay here, be entertained, and get accurate information. Quick question of the day. Gentlemen, who's a player that fantasy owners will want to drop after a poor Week 1 performance, but shouldn't? So who's going to start the year on a
I'll hop in here first
on
because
a bad note.
It should be obvious because we have said this many times through the offseason. It's Kerryon Johnson, my guy. Kerryon, love him. He's great, but you did not draft him for Week 1. I have him in a lot of leagues. He is in my starting roster nowhere. So he's a guy that you will see. You'll be able to – look, if you didn't get a chance to draft him in your league, you might be able to pick him up after Week 1, Week 2, because what's going to happen, especially with stupid Amir Abdullah there now, there's a logjam. And even just recently it came out that he's going to, They're wanting him to prove himself and earn that time, and I firmly believe it will happen, but it will take a couple weeks. So he's a must-stash type of fella.
Did you see the report? Oh, he's not clean-shaven?
Nope.
He's a mustache? The Lions OC, old JBC, Jim Bob Cooter, says that Kerryon Johnson's role, he's going to allow it to develop itself based on his play.
That's what I'm talking about.
So if maybe Kerryon gets the hot hand,
and he will,
and by week 2 or 3, we're all singing the song, starting him, getting fantasy points.
I'm going to go with Adrian Peterson, believe it or not.
I believe it.
I think Adrian Peterson is somebody that you will not want – you shouldn't drop. You will want to drop because he goes on the road, makes his debut for Washington in Arizona.
But Andy.
Yeah.
Revenge game.
Nope. Didn't spend enough time in Arizona for a revenge game. It should be a thank you.
What's the threshold?
Well, there's no revenge to be had. He should thank Arizona for giving him a chance to play football last year, more than like 6 snaps a game.
They cut him.
Won't he just have the
extra? He cut
extra,
himself.
Won't he just have the extra power, feeling like he's at a home game? This crowd loves me.
Arizona last year gave up 3.5 yards per carry. That was 3rd best in the league. They're at home. This is the season opener. The crowd's going to be intense. The defense is going to be intense. Adrian Peterson, later in his career, tries to do a little too much. I think it's going to be a rough week 1.
And he's the type of guy that people will want to draft simply because
you mean want to drop?
Yes, thank you. Want to drop because he went a little bit later in drafts. You're like, I only spent an 8th round pick on Adrian Peterson. I'll just drop him.
Yeah, and I think you need to hold on until you see the running back situation settle.
I agree.
In Washington.
Now this player, trust me, folks. Trust me. We have seen the fantasy tilt. I have lived the fantasy tilt. We've all experienced it. And people, after a bad week 1, want to drop their 2nd and 3rd round picks. It just happens. Please do not do that. People are going to be pissed off at Shady McCoy after week 1. You got Nathan Peterman behind center being the Mayan sacrifice to the Lambs, or not to the Lambs. He is the Lamb. The Baltimore Ravens are going to eat his lunch. It's going to be rough for Shady McCoy. You better hope he catches 7-8 passes in week 1 or you're going to be very disappointed. I have Shady on some of my teams. I'm going to have to play him. I'm not saying I'm going, oh, yeah, man, my 9th round running back, I'm going to start him over LeSean McCoy. I'm going to take my lumps with a starting running back who I project will get a ton of volume. But I am thoroughly expecting that I'll be disappointed. Maybe I make a roster decision that in my flex I put a guy who has a bit more upside to try and counter what I'm expecting from LeSean McCoy. But it's going to be tough sledding for the first few weeks, but do not drop him. If you spent the draft capital, you got to hold on right now.
All right, let's get into the news.
News and notes from around the league.
Congratulations to Royce Freeman.
Yes!
Named the Broncos starting running back. I think we're all very excited here.
I think one of us is a little more excited.
We've been in this camp together for a while. Royce Freeman is the better running back.
Look, Vance Joseph, head coach of the
how about
Denver
an apology for Vance Joseph? Why don't you tell him?
What?
You've been giving him grief because you don't believe in him.
I think that's more me, and I certainly don't. I will apologize for nothing.
I also apologize for nothing because, you did the right thing. Okay, so a guy goes and robs a bank, and then afterwards he's like, oh, sorry, I shouldn't have done that.
Have your money back.
Hold on.
I don't apologize to the bank robber.
You should apologize for what you didn't give him any credit to make the right move for the last month.
Because he had not been making the right move.
This is the only chance for him to make the right move, now. What could he have done different?
Done it earlier?
No.
Done what earlier?
No.
This is when you declare
here's the thing.
The depth chart.
He is first on the depth chart. If we come in after week 1, I will give
what
Vance.
Else could he have done?
I will give Vance Joseph an apology coming in week 1 if he actually receives, let's say, 65%.
Stop.
of the workload.
Stop.
Because that's what he
Stop.
should. Like, bare minimum.
You guys are ridiculous.
No.
Yes. You basically condemned him for doing something he never did.
Mike,
he never made Devontae Booker his official starter to start the year, and yet you condemned him for a month.
I lock arms with you, Mike.
So Darth Vader throws the Emperor down the hole at the end of the movie. That washes out everything he already did?
What did he do?
Oh, he's been a bum for over a year.
Vance Joseph?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, stop.
Big time
A bum. Sorry, Vance.
This is
You
a
should
wild
apologize
one.
to Vader.
This is a wild one. Vance Joseph does
him to
everything you want him to do, and he's still a villain.
Anakin,
All right.
I'm sorry.
Hey, Mike, guess what?
What's up?
Matt Breida took the first team reps at practice. It looks like he's going to start week 1.
Okay. The argument was not that Matt Breida is bad. The argument was that Alfred Morris is going to be utilized.
Brandon LaFell was signed to a 1-year deal. Don't we have
By the Oakland Raiders. We do. We have a mediocre signing.
Mediocre signing of the week.
Let's go ahead and extend that over to Marcus Wheaton, signed by the Eagles. Jeremy McNichols, signed by the Colts. And there you go. So
Yeah, that's the big news.
That's the big news.
Yep. Hey, the big
It's a
news
slow
of the
news
day.
day.
Big news of the day.
I think that's it. I don't think we have anything else. I think we can move on in confidence to our main event.
Sure.
Well, that's the story of my life. No respect. I got no respect.
We're talking undrafted gems, although that drop suits Vance Joseph as well, based on the tongue lashing my co-hosts
What has he
have
done
bestowed upon him.
What has he done positive?
What has he done negative? Give me that.
Let me see. It's called 2017.
So he had a bad year with quarterbacks that you guys have. I mean, they just cut their first round pick, Paxton Lynch.
Yes.
They no longer have any of the quarterbacks on the roster that
Yes.
were there last year.
There was a whole stretch in the middle of the season where they were not giving their best running back carries.
Yeah, and that's really, if we're being honest, that's where it comes from. C.J. Anderson should have been a workhorse back.
You're a couple of bitter
and
betties.
He wasn't. And
Couple of bitter betties.
Royce Freeman should be a workhorse back, and will he? He should be, but that's up to Vance.
Let's talk about something else that the Broncos did right. My first undrafted gem, by the way, these are players that we view as gems, as values, as worthy of consideration, signing, stashing potentially, players not drafted.
People on your waivers right now.
I'm starting in Denver. I've got an orange and blue shirt on today to celebrate this man. Courtland Sutton, a wide receiver, a unicorn. At least that's what the director of football operations at Southern Methodist University, where Courtland Sutton went, called him a unicorn. 6'4", 216. If you look at Player Profiler, 97th percentile in agility, 90th percentile in catch radius, 84th percentile spark score. He owns the land around him. And if you watched him in the preseason, he's in the top 5 players in terms of passing the eye test this preseason. He is a stud, and Courtland Sutton will rise. And I think you can find the most value, the most opportunity in an undrafted gem at the wide receiver position. I think there is going to be opportunity for him to emerge. And I'm telling you right now, if an injury happens to one of those top 2 guys, Courtland Sutton is a top 24 guy.
Now, I have questions about this.
Yeah.
So, undrafted Jim, we all like his talent. He was my number 1 wide receiver coming into the draft. Sad where he went, but now he's been on the field in all 3 wide receiver sets. Certainly is a starter. But what are you expecting? Let's say the injuries don't happen. Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders, they stay healthy. They play 16. What can you really get out of Sutton?
He's an every week touchdown flyer. Every week. I would treat Courtland Sutton with no injuries ahead of him as I would a tight end 6 through 12. Something in that range where you can count on a red zone contributor with potential for a breakout game. I think that there's a chance that he could earn he should be a solid wide receiver 3.
Okay, so again, taking injuries out, let's say that the injuries ahead don't happen and neither of these players get injured. Which player would you rather have to start on a week-in, week-out basis? Courtland Sutton or Deshaun Jackson?
Courtland Sutton.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, because I see him.
Yes.
He is, to me,
Same
one of those
tier.
every week touchdown flyers. You're
Sure.
hoping for that long bomb touchdown.
No, I think Courtland Sutton will just be involved. I think he will be involved in the offense.
I'm not as optimistic, but I'm hopeful as
Well, that's
heck,
good, 'cause
I love Sutton, and I really do want him to break out.
I've tried to reserve judgment on one of your guys.
Yeah, let's get there.
I've tried to zip my lips. I've tried to open my ears.
You haven't succeeded on your try, though.
I did too.
All right. Okay. Well,
I didn't stay there that much on last episode.
All right. We did. We talked about this yesterday a little bit when we were going through all the 53-man roster cuts and changes. I think an undrafted gem this year is absolutely Mike Gillislee, running back now for the New Orleans Saints. Now, in fairness, he didn't open his mouth to do that. So Andy's kept his mouth shut and somehow still voiced his displeasure with this pick. Look, Mike Gillislee is a very productive goal line back. He is a very good first. Whoa!
What are you doing over there?
He's trying to keep his mouth shut and interrupt everything
You're out
I have
of control.
going. Look. Mike Gillislee was signed. Here's what we know about the New Orleans Saints. Let's take a picture of the team because I think this is where I'm coming from in my love for Gillislee for these first 4 weeks. The New Orleans Saints, year in, year out in the entire Sean Payton era, always have as a team one of the top 3, usually top 5 running back fantasy points scored. They score with,
as a unit,
as a team. Even when Mark Ingram was, the guy and he was a top 8 running back, there was still, Pierre Thomas was relevant and Chris Ivory was relevant. There are always multiple backs to play and get fantasy value from New Orleans. Their offensive line is great for the running game. We've seen that. Jonathan Williams looked awesome this preseason, running behind that offensive line, and they cut him. Why did they cut him? I remember when they cut him, I was like, man, what in the world? Is this something where, I don't know, they like someone else on the roster? What's his face? Trey
Edmonds.
Trey Edmonds, thank
who's
you.
now been cut.
Oh, really? He's been cut too, huh?
You know who else was cut?
Tell me.
Mike Gillislee.
Nope.
Yeah, he was. He was cut by the Patriots.
Oh, well, sure. They've got they
So
they
a
have
player who's
Jeremy.
been cut is done. Once you're cut, you're never on a team again, and you're never good
Who are you-
again.
No, I'm not. He's
They
been cut.
knew-
I'm just saying. Jason's talking about these guys that were cut.
That's
to
because-
sign a guy who was cut. That's all I'm saying.
Sure, that's fine. I'll grant you that. He was cut from the Patriots because Sony Michel and Rex Burkhead and multiple other backs there that fit specific roles. They drafted a first-round running back. And so, yes, they cut Mike Gillislee. But the thing is,
They kept Jeremy Hill, just for the record.
Right.
Has Jeremy Hill been very good?
I promise you, if they had kept Gillislee and cut Jeremy Hill would have been signed by the New Orleans Saints, and I would be saying Jeremy Hill is the waiver wire pickup right now, the undrafted gem. That was the Saints' plan all along. And this morning, after Trey Edmonds was cut, and you go, okay, it's either Gillislee or it's Boston Scott, who's a little itty-bitty baby of a man, and he's shown well, but he's much more of a pass-catching guy.
He's a special teams guy.
Yeah, and then it came out that he's going to be involved in special teams. Look, Sean Payton already, here's what he said on Mike Gillislee, who scored a touchdown against the Saints this preseason, said, I think the vision for him is a first and second down runner that's giving us the hard yards. He's a guy that can be physical. He can handle a workload. That's a quote from Sean Payton. He said he's pretty sharp, and I think in a short period of time he'll get up to speed. You got 4 games without Mark Ingram. They're not giving Kamara workhorse, nonstop load. Week 1, Tampa Bay, at home. How many rushing touchdowns did the Saints get? 1? Probably 2?
Sure.
Maybe they both go to Kamara. He's great. But I think Gillislee is a guy that you could pick up, and if I had Mark Ingram if I drafted Mark Ingram, which I didn't do anywhere because I was worried about having to hold, if I knew that, if you haven't drafted yet, I'm grabbing Mark Ingram in the 5th round and then Gillislee late, and I feel like I've locked up a great roster spot. So that's my argument.
Week 1, you've got Thursday night game. You play Tevin Coleman or you play Mike Gillislee this week. I want to put you to the test.
Okay, Tevin Coleman against the Philadelphia Eagles or Mike Gillislee. I'd still go Tevin Coleman there.
Adrian Peterson.
I would go Gillislee.
How much work do you think he's going to get, Mike?
Gillislee? It would not
fresh off the waiver wire.
It would not shock me.
It seems like a risky proposition to start Mike Gillislee week 1.
Certainly, but I would project him to be around that 11 to 14 touches with a high probability of goal line work.
Oh, I got a good one. I got a good one, and I know he's going to take it. How about this? How about a week 1 head-to-head water bet? Courtland Sutton, Mike Gillislee.
No.
Oh! And the truth shall set you free.
How does not taking Courtland Sutton in week 1 versus Mike Gillislee? Mike Gillislee has an absence of Ingram for 4 weeks and goal line work. Sutton as a rookie wide receiver has to work into an offense.
It sounds like it did not deserve the negative horn then.
What negative horn?
The one that you played when you were.
Yeah, you gave him the loser horn.
Because I wasn't talking. I was just joking.
All right. Well, that's my guy that I'm going to be watching. And hey, you want to know how I'm going to be watching?
How, Jason?
NFL stinking Game Pass.
Ooh.
It is awesome. NFL Game Pass, we have used this thing for years, and they have upgraded it year after year after year. Everyone's always like, how do you guys see the games? How do you watch them? I mean, granted, we do have this incredible TV wall where we can watch a lot of games at once. Most people don't have the 9 TV setup. You've got to be able to go back and watch the film. And sometimes you can't see when Courtland Sutton's making this great route unless you have Game Pass and you can watch the coach's film. You can watch the All-22 film. And my personal favorite, this is what I use week in and week out, the condensed games. Condensed games. You just watch the whole game, every snap, cut up for you automatically. They take everything out, all commercials, all in between, all the huddling, and, under 45 minutes, you watch the entire game. You will take your fantasy footballing to another level, I promise you. Best of all, you can kick off the 2018 season with a 7-day free trial of NFL Game Pass. Sign up now at NFL.com/fantasyfootballers. That's NFL.com/fantasyfootballers. Game on!
We also want to thank Movement Watches for supporting this independent podcast. You've heard us talk about Movement before. Those 2 college dropouts that started their own watch company. Well, it's grown like crazy. Almost 2 million watches sold in 160-plus countries, and watches start at just $95. They continue to revolutionize fashion on the belief that style should not break the bank. We like a good deal, right? And if you haven't checked out their site lately, they have doubled the number of available watch styles and are still expanding. We've all got our favorites here in the studio. Absolutely love the Movement watches. They are classic. There are all types of designs, modern designs. Check out the Revolver collection. Look, you can get 15% off with free shipping and free returns by going to mvmt.com/footballers. See why Movement keeps growing. Check out their expanding collection. Go to mvmt.com/footballers and join the movement.
Breaking news.
Please tell me that Mike Gillislee's not big cut.
Well, no, this is just super, super important news here.
Yes.
Say goodbye to University of Phoenix Stadium in Arizona. It has been renamed.
Goodbye.
Welcome to State Farm Stadium.
Cool.
Okay.
So that was the big announcement.
Yeah, that's all I got for you.
Arizona. Come on.
There was
use that money and sign David Johnson to an extension.
The reason that even came up is because there was an announcement that there was a, quote, major press conference in Arizona. We thought maybe David Johnson had signed a new deal. But no, State Farm signed a new deal, 18-year deal with the stadium.
18?
Wow.
18-year deal.
Holy crap.
Well, I mean, that's about normal, isn't it?
I have no idea.
When did the University of Phoenix Stadium open? What year? Because, I mean, it's 2018 now. And I think this one expires in a couple years. So I'm guessing it's probably
you're right. That's
probably right around there.
At least 15.
That's just blowing my mind that you have to sign a contract for that long.
Now, did you two have like breakfast together this morning? I mean, what brought you together on such a day like this? It seems like you guys are united in all of your takes, all of your thoughts. You guys throwing darts at Vance Joseph together. You probably molded some Mike Gillislee out of clay. Maybe the scene from Ghost.
We've been holding.
Were you molding some Mike Gillislee?
Here's what I will have to say.
I was Patrick Swayze, for the record.
This is what I want to say about my my teammate, my comrade.
Yeah, best friend.
Incredibly handsome. Shockingly intelligent.
Wow.
Shockingly.
Shockingly.
That's the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
You want to say something about me?
Yes, I do. You are clearly brilliant. For your opinions you just shared.
Stop.
And
stop it.
You're the pop culture icon of this show.
Oh, stop. Speaking of
oh my gosh, he just reached out and took his hand.
Speaking of undrafted gems and guys who are on the waiver wire right now that can be a producer for your team.
Jims and Johns.
The Philadelphia Eagles have a wide receiver named Mike Wallace, who I think can slot right into your starting lineup immediately.
He can do what?
Slot right in?
Yeah.
Slot right in?
Yeah. You got a slot?
Brooks, can I get a ruling?
What? Judge.
Sure.
It's
my official ruling.
It passes by confusion.
Makes sense. I'm not winning
Judge.
a lot today. Go on.
You've never slotted something in?
I think that's a thing.
Go forward.
All right. Alshon Jeffrey, their high-priced wide receiver coming off of the shoulder surgery, will not be ready reportedly for at least, 2 games, 3 games?
Week to week.
And we know he's going to miss week 1 at least. And we know that Mike Wallace is still a pretty good wide receiver. You can look back at his game speed. He hasn't lost his athletic ability. He's 2 years removed from being a 1,000-yard wide receiver. The way that this team runs their offense, I think that Mike Wallace is a pretty solid option for week 1 against the Falcons.
Think he's going to get those screen passes regardless. He'll get 2 or 3 opportunities.
And he'll get deep passes
on the outside
as well.
screens. Right now, Alshon Jeffrey's going to miss a couple weeks. Right now, Mac Hollins can't practice.
Yeah, he's banged up.
He's banged up. He's had groin problems all offseason.
Yeah, my groin.
So, no, I actually don't mind this one, Mike. You've said something that I can agree with today.
Here's my hardship with it, and it's a pretty obvious one.
So Nick Foles?
It's Nick Foles. It's the fact that, yes, Alshon Jeffrey is gone. That opens up a great opportunity, but also Carson Wentz is gone, and that takes that opportunity down a few notches. So I think this might be the first time we might agree to disagree a little bit here, Mike.
Fair, but at the same time, I'm not just talking about week 1. We do not know how long Alshon Jeffrey is going to be out. We do not know how long Carson Wentz is going to be out. If you get into week 2 and Carson Wentz is named the starter and Alshon is still out, I mean, you're going to be excited that Mike Wallace is on your bench.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But I will say this. I expect – call him a shot now. I expect Carson Wentz will miss close to a month.
Oh, all right.
That's
all right.
I just think it would be – it's so stupid to not
rush him back.
Yes, there's no reason. You have a great defense. Nick Foles is serviceable. You won a Super Bowl with Nick Foles. Your offensive line is great. Why risk the next 10 years of your franchise?
So the Eagles begin against the Falcons. Then they follow that up with what looks to be the Buccaneers.
Oh, very interesting.
I can get on that, Mike Wallace.
They then follow that up with the Colts.
Oh, Mike Wallace looking better and better.
They follow that up with the Titans.
Oh!
I'm
at Mike Wallace right now.
Like, there's a decent chance that they're 3-1 or 2-2 without Carson Wentz through those games.
Right. Agreed.
They did win a Super Bowl without him.
And Mike Wallace is pick him up. Pick him up.
And do you bring Carson Wentz back against the Vikings? Probably, if he's healthy.
Yeah.
We'll see. Okay, I guess I get to bring up another undrafted gem. You can plug your ears if you're not interested. Eric Ebron, tight end for the Indianapolis Colts.
I was plugging my ears. Sorry.
And this one's pretty simple. My case for Eric Ebron is that every year you have a number of tight ends that emerge as streaming candidates, undrafted guys that you can move into your lineup. This year I put Ebron in the same exact category as I would put Jared Cook, as I would put Ricky Seals-Jones. Look, last year, Jack Doyle had 80 catches in Indianapolis. Arm strength is still a question for Andrew Luck right now.
Yes.
We don't know whether he can drive the ball down the field, and the athleticism, the ability to box guys out, the stuff that Ebron is has been part of his repertoire. He's a fast guy. He's an athletic guy. And despite him being regularly trashed by the general public, the last 2 years, I mean, he had 570 yards and 711 yards. And I just think that there's a ceiling here for the former first-round pick that is pretty much what you saw in that last preseason opportunity, where he had 5 receptions on 5 targets, 54 yards, a touchdown. He can be that intermediate route guy that Andrew Luck can lean on outside of T.Y. Hilton, a red zone talent. Look, you're pretty much going to get – I think you're guaranteed to get 5 for 50 every week from Eric Ebron.
Wow.
Whether or not you get –
That's like a 1,000-yard season, my man.
5 for 45.
Okay. I mean, it's not 50, but it's just over that.
I think you're going to get 4 or 5 receptions a week, and then you're going to be, crossing your fingers for a touchdown. So I think Eric Ebron is an undrafted gem. I would not feel I take him ahead of Doyle, and I don't feel a lot of hesitation about him being a streaming candidate.
Yeah, I don't mind that. There's a whole huge Jack Doyle versus Eric Ebron debate. Usually where I land on it is they're going to eat into each other, and so I'm off. But if I had to pick one, a lot of people, man, they love their Jack Doyle. They look at the metrics of last year and they think, yeah, 80 receptions, and he's still on the roster. But it's like, think about what happened last year to get him his 80 receptions. He was the first and only read from a backup quarterback. And if you just take Jack Doyle and Eric Ebron, there's no question who the better, more talented football player is to me. It is Eric Ebron for sure. My point is, if they eat into each other, whatever, they're both worthless. If one of these guys emerges and becomes a regular go-to guy that is fantasy relevant on a week-in, week-out basis, I would put my chips on Eric Ebron. But I've been an Eric Ebron truther for a long time.
Look, their new head coach, they brought Ebron
Frank
in
Reich.
for a purpose, to build out this new offensive system. Yes, he's a rookie head coach, but he's got a track record, and Frank Reich can use the tight end efficiently, and I don't think Jack Doyle fits the athletic profile for the type of tight end he wants to use in a pass-catching situation. So is he reliable? Yeah, Jack Doyle's reliable. I'm not saying he's not. 2 tight end sets. They're both going to be out there catching the ball. But the one that can make the biggest splash for fantasy is Eric Ebron. And that's why he was a former first-round pick.
Top 10, even.
Yep.
I like it. All right. I guess we're at my second undrafted gem. This is a guy that What?
No, I'm just trolling you now because I can push buttons and you can't.
A little inside information here. I didn't
even know who it was. I just pushed the button anyway.
I did not want to bring this name up. I genuinely, selfishly was like, man, I don't want to bring this. I have been trying to snake this guy. Like, my roster was, of course, too good. Of course. And too loaded in the listener league. And so I actually dropped this guy a few days ago, and he's still on the waivers. People haven't picked him up. And I'm like thinking, I need to get him back. I'm trying to make 2-for-1 trades so I can sign him. Danny Amendola is on almost every waiver wire out there. Danny Amendola will be on very few waiver wires after week 1. That's my honest belief. I think he will, in the games that he plays over the course of the season, he will be the target leader for the Miami Dolphins. There is a gargantuan slot role that has opened up. And no, Danny Amendola is not Jarvis Landry. You can't just replace one with the other. But the targets that went to Landry still need to go to the Miami Dolphins that are currently on the roster. And Amendola has both looked good in camp and in preseason and is firmly slotted into the slot role for the Dolphins. The opportunity.
You said he's slotted in.
Yes, I did. And the judge says, sure. Yeah, I mean, look, Amendola's always been a good player. His issue has been health. And will he play 16? Probably not. Probably not, but he's got an opportunity.
He's done it twice in 8 years.
Yeah, and if he plays 16, he's going to be a very serviceable week-in, week-out starter.
Really?
Not in standard leagues. Not in standard, because I don't see him as, this huge touchdown guy. I don't see the Dolphins as, a high-scoring team. but he's going to be a guy that surprises in the target counts, in the reception counts, through the course of every game that he is playing. I love Danny Amendola. I want him on my team. My plan in the Listener League was to start Danny Amendola over Kerryon Johnson as well.
I don't think I'm in on Danny Amendola. I think we've seen enough of him for long enough on multiple teams to where, Mike and I just did that stash or trash episode, and I think he's a bench clogger. I don't want him on my team because he's never had a year over 700 yards. He's never had more than 4 touchdowns.
Because he doesn't play 16 games. But in the games,
but I mean, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 seasons. 9 seasons he's never done it. Season 10 in Miami, he's going to do it. That's my definition of a guy that has got a track record that I don't want to put on my bench.
Fair. Let me ask you guys this question here. If Le'Veon Bell is still not at practice today, where are the red flags? Are we at half-mast? Have we gone to full?
He's not at practice?
He's still not at practice.
I believe he's also Instagramming beach pictures.
He's not going to be playing week 1. I mean, it's looking really, really unlikely.
I think you can lock James Conner in as a RB2.
So we talked about him a lot yesterday, which is why I think none of us chose him for this undrafted gem. But James Conner should be on your roster. If he's on the waiver wire, you need to pick him up right now.
But how do people decide what to spend on a guy like James Conner? You don't want to blow a huge portion of your fab to start the season on a guy if you're only going to get
one game
or one game with a shared workload. If you listen to Pouncey, their center, talk about Lev Bell, they're trying to put him, they're trying to separate that locker room, and all the reporters are saying, well, are you concerned? And no, we're not. He did this last year. It's fine. Well, wouldn't it be nice if he's in here? Well, we don't care. We're fine. He'll come in here. He was the best running back in the league. He did this last year. Well, does he need to be practicing? Doesn't need to be. I mean, their opinion is whatever.
And I completely agree with that.
And he's still listed as the starter right now.
Right. But as far as picking up Conner, if your running back 2 is very weak, James Conner, if Le'Veon Bell, Mike Tomlin comes out and says, "Yeah, I'm tired of this, Lev. You're not playing week 1," and it's James Conner against the Cleveland Browns. He is a running back 1.
I don't agree. Not on the road, not in Cleveland. Against that defensive front, I don't think so.
He will be ranked as a running back 1 for me if he is the starter. If Le'Veon Bell is out.
Right, and I think there's a good chance of that. I posted this on Twitter yesterday, and I still believe this. If I was in a league where I don't have Le'Veon Bell, I'm trying to trade for Le'Veon Bell, because even trade for him knowing that I don't get him week 1, because there are going to be certain leagues where the owner is tilting hard. They're worried that Lev Bell's going to hold out half the season. And they will trade him, really on the cheap. And if you can steal Le'Veon Bell, I would do it 100%. And as I said on Twitter, if he then shows up at practice tomorrow or the next day or this coming Monday after missing week 1, all of a sudden discount's over. You've got one of the best running backs in the league.
Yeah.
Get him.
So my number 2 choice is actually James Conner, but the guy who I was going to talk about he should be sitting there on your waiver wire. It's James White, New England Patriot. Wow, New England Patriots running back. This is just a matter of pass catchers available for this team. You have Chris Hogan, you have Phillip Dorsett, you have Cordero Patterson. Those are your wide receivers. That's all. And on Dorsett and Patterson, we've really seen nothing out of them their entire career. Well, meanwhile, we've seen James White be extremely productive. 72 targets last year, 86 targets the year before. Yes, he will not be the primary running back, but as a flex option, especially in a PPR league or a half-point PPR league, I think that he is going to be a usable guy for these first 4 weeks.
I'd rather start James White than I would Mike Gillislee. I'd rather start him over Adrian Peterson week 1.
So there you go.
James White is going to be a valuable pass catcher on this team, and they don't have a lot right now. They don't have a lot that they can go to. So I think James White is a steal. I've seen him being picked up on waiver wires. I think people are feeling the same way, but if you have a chance to get him, I'm fully on board.
Yep. And I still strongly prefer the other guys, Burkhead in the pass catching role, but White's, I don't know what else the Pats are going to do, man.
If you're in a PPR, he'll catch enough to be relevant.
You start Gillislee or James White, Jason?
That would be a league-dependent thing. If it's a standard league, I'd go
point.
Gillislee. Half point. I would probably start Gillislee.
All right, let's get into the mailbag.
Mailbag.
Woo! If you have a question, go to thefantasyfootballers.com, click the Submit a Question button, or dial our voicemail hotline, 302-464-TFFB. Let's jump into the voicemail questions.
Hey, guys. Ryan from North Carolina. Colin, I love the show. Just had a question. I'm a first-time commissioner this year.
Oh, no.
One of our guys actually threw in the draft. He took 5 kickers and really left a lot on the board for a lot of guys. Now, some of the other guys in the league are asking me to step in and do something about it. I'm a first-time commish. What do you guys do in this situation? Love the show.
That's
Thanks.
funny.
What?
There's a reason that we talk about leagues with less owners being better. If you're trying to fill a league to 10 or 12 and one of them is a guy like this, you're better off with nobody, and that you do have to fix this.
Now let's assume here that this is not an outright idiot who doesn't understand the game. He's trying to be too clever, right? He's thinking if I get all the best kickers, if I get them, then people will trade for him.
No, nobody's thinking that. That's not a presumption we can make.
I know you're trying to spin it, Jay, but
I'm trying.
He literally said he threw the draft, so we have to take him at his word. He said he threw the draft. So at this point, you have a couple of options, in my opinion. You can switch the owner out, let this guy put his team back, let the new owner put the team back together through the waiver wire and just let him live with that team. Or you can kick him out of the league altogether, and that team can be the average points scored per week of all the teams. And so if you're stuck with him, like if you don't have anybody to take it over, you're better off treating that team as the average points scored of everybody else for the entirety of the year and move on.
And just freeze that roster as it is.
But you can't let him do this to you every week. You can't let that owner destroy this league week after week, because he's going to do whatever he did on the draft. He's going to do it in the waiver wire. He's going to do it on his starting lineup. He's going to ruin your league.
Why?
Also, what is he doing?
Why do people got to be turds, man?
FootClanLeagues.com. Getting a good one.
Turd alert.
Turd
Serious. What?
I mean, ridiculous.
Wow.
Congratulations.
You did it. You wasted part of your day to draft kickers and be a terrible person.
Let this be. Can I just ask one follow-up question? And I want to ask it to Andy. Andy, could this specific problem, could this have arose in a league that does not have the kicker position?
No.
Another point in my favor. Get rid of
He would
him.
have 5 defenses, though.
Yeah, that's true. That's why I specified this specific problem.
All right, here's an interesting one from Adam in Florida. Would you rather roster Alfred Morris or James Conner right now?
Alf.
Okay. It's interesting.
You
Because
would really rather have James Conner than...
You talking to me?
Yes.
No, I said interesting only because you just said James Conner would be a 1 without Bell. So I was trying to think of, like, what are the odds that James Conner has longer-term viability? I mean, at what point is it a 1% chance that Lev Bell holds out into the season? I mean, what is it? Because he hasn't signed the franchise tender.
Fair. What I don't know off the top of my head. What are the number of games he has to play
for eligibility? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We'll have to look into that and report back tomorrow.
Sure. Yeah. Baby Josh, get on that. No, I'd rather roster Alfred Morris, I think. But at some point you take your shot because you could have a 1. You're not going to get a 1 with Alfred Morris. We all agree on that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Spencer and Austin, in a 14-team league, is Dorsett a good play while Edelman is out for 4 games?
He could be. That's why I brought up James White.
The biggest thing
could be, but
working against Phillip Dorsett is that he's literally never been a good play.
Right.
That's the biggest hole in his game is his chances of being a good play are lower because he's never been one.
Right. There are certain players that you can see a path for fantasy relevance, and you go, okay, should I grab them? They have an opportunity here, but there are certain players where even when I see the opportunity, I say you have to prove it first. And that, this is kind of how I view like the Cleveland Browns organization. I get it. On paper, things are great, but I'm waiting to be proved. Like, you got to prove it. I want to see it on the field. I want to see it after week 1. This isn't. I don't think Phillip Dorsett is a guy that you need to draft right now. Have make a strong fab play for. Wait and see, because the odds still are pretty heavy that he's not relevant.
Bobby in New Jersey, Alfred Morris or Jamaal Williams?
As a week 1 play or season long?
Let's say season long.
Jamaal Williams.
Agreed.
Okay.
Oh, the title of the question is higher ceiling.
Jamaal Williams.
Jamaal Williams.
Week 1.
That's why he's the season long guy.
Week 1 play. Jamaal Williams. So it's a clean sweep for Jamaal Williams.
Fair enough.
Keegan in Denver, how does the Khalil Mack trade impact quarterbacks in the AFC West, and how does this impact Jordan Howard? Do you predict that Howard will get more value because the defense will be more stout in Chicago?
It should be.
Yeah, I liked it for Jordan Howard. I mean, as a he's one of my 3 my guys, so I obviously care, and Burton. So I'm like, yes, go
right.
Bears. But it's not enough to affect a ranking where you change him up or down. It's just, it's good vibes. It's more winning game scripts, and those things are good. As far as the quarterbacks in the division, I mean, you have to look specifically case by case, and I think the quarterbacks are able to handle a pass rush. Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, Matt Stafford. You've got 3 veteran guys who they're going to, will they take an extra sack in that game? Sure, but is it going to really derail their fantasy production? I don't believe so.
All right, last one. This one is Steven in Hershey. Who do you guys feel is a better stash, has more upside? Geronimo, Allison, or John Ross? Have to drop one to get a kicker before the start of the season, PPR league.
It's an interesting question. So as of right now, you have to presume that Geronimo Allison is the 3, even with all the chitter-chatter about Randall Cobb being available for trades. Randall Cobb would be the number 2 wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers. Meanwhile, do you guys have John Ross as the number 2 wide receiver for the Cincinnati Bengals?
Yeah, I'd rather have Ross.
But then the tougher question is, one of them has Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback.
Yeah, it's a philosophical thing. Would you rather have the number 3 for Aaron Rodgers or the number 2 for Andy Dalton? That's a close call.
Yeah, it's definitely close. Oh, man.
I would say historically the number 3 for Aaron Rodgers outproduces the number 2 for Andy Dalton. I can't think of a number 2 wide receiver. I mean, you usually have 2 options, right? Tyler Kroft or Tyler Eifert and A.J. Green. But, I mean, I guess LaFell has been – Yeah.
I lean Geronimo. Allison.
I think Geronimo
it's not overwhelming,
has the higher hopeful ceiling, but the odds of having a relevant week in, week out starter, I would put for John Ross. So it's a team dependent thing. If you need this guy to be in your flex, go John Ross. If he's on your bench as a hopeful stash, I would go Geronimo. And hey, make sure you do not forget to grab NFL Game Pass from the NFL. Is an unbelievable tool where you can rewatch every single game that happens. You can watch them without commercials. You can watch them in condensed. You can watch them in the All-22 and the coaches film. And best of all, you can kick off the 2018 NFL season with a 7-day free trial of NFL Game Pass. So sign up now at NFL.com/fantasyfootballers. That's NFL.com/fantasyfootballers. You won't be disappointed with the tool.
All right, that is it for today's podcast. Make sure you check out FootClanGiveaway.com if you want to win a signed DeAndre Hopkins jersey. Thanks for supporting the podcast, the show. Check out draft.com/ballers for some best ball before the season starts. We'll be back with you tomorrow. Week 1 is almost here.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.